good evening and great salutations for all of you out there on the interwebs. It is I, Mr. JP Stilts, back again, back in space. It has been a few weeks, but we are back to dive back into the chaos that is our Into the Void campaign. Once again, we are joined by our rogue trader, our navigator, and our tech priest, our engine seer prime. Since it has been a little while, let's talk a bit about what happened last time, because it was a bit intense. You have been on this planet for a couple days now. Your intention of getting here, the reason you were here, was to find the Dread Pearl, this treasure planet, only to find a vibrant, lush green, very nice looking world, but not what you were really looking for. That seemed to have some very tense and concerning psyker stuff going on, some warp stuff going on. With some inspections, you found it tied to a tall wraithbone tower, surrounded by the remains of an Eldar civilization of ancient years. Your time here has shown you a variety of potential resources of the planet, from an ointment that can be used to aid radiation burns to actual radioactive material itself. You have seen and battled against great, large, monstrous bugs of this place, made your way through an ambush of one Kraken Feckward, who ended up leaving with little more than a flaming transport. And there at the tower, you battled against some very difficult and dangerous Eldar psychers. You were not alone in this fight. Another rogue trader, Madame Charlebal, was there with a small group of Kroot mercenaries, and you were able to defeat these Eldar who seemed to be trying to steal the tower, to take the tower out of this realm and hide it within the warp. Unfortunately, there were some losses during this fight. The largest and most impactful was that of Corvus Torian, the leader of the House Guard and the cousin of our rogue trader. Atop this tower was a large engraving, many lines, circles, structures carved into the top with these small placements of gemstones. And for Uno and for Madame Charlebel, it was pretty easy to recognize this was a star chart, a map of sorts. There was a notice that another vessel was making its way into orbit of the planet, and your records show that it was of the Baron. You were advised to return back to your transport to get out of there before he arrived. So you did that. On your way back to base, you called in for your vessel to move into position and to fire down upon the tower. And it did. An explosion of fire, debris, wraithbone, and dust and ash consumed the area around this wraithbone structure and left little for anyone who else might come by to take a look. Your journey back to your transport was fairly smooth at first until you came across the scene of the ambush. There was still a bit of fire illuminating the night from the transport you had shot down. And you noticed that human remains had been precariously placed upon the few structures that were on this place, on top of the wall, stabbed through with a spike. One in particular stood out to you, and that was the remains of the rogue trader, Kraken Feckward. He had been tied to a tree, severed in two, and a note left with him warning anyone caught on this planet would be faced with death. You quickly made your way again closer and closer to the transport, but found that the large canyon, the large gap that you had crossed before, now rumbled and groaned by some kind of movement deep within. Lazarus, your meters read that the radiation of this place had skyrocketed since when you first had crossed over. And upon trying to utilize the same tree to bridge your way across, you found the tree had started to suffer from this radiation, giving it a bit more give than it had before. You were mostly able to make it over this gap, a few of your armsmen slipping behind and falling to the depths below. You spent a night there in camp, preparing to pack up and head out after a bit more study was done. And the next day, you woke to, well, those who had left the message. A troop of Eldar warriors made their presence known in the forest beyond, and a battle commenced. Explosions, smoke, sniper fire, and absolute chaos rained down upon you. Realizing that these foes were not going down easily and were unlike any you'd faced before, Rogue Trader, you ordered everyone back to the transport and back to the ship. It's time to use our ship to bring down the fire of the Emperor. As you gathered most of your troops to your ship and began to take off, you watched as the area you had just been in once again erupted in absolute chaos as the impact of each shell caused 30 to 45 meter wide holes in the soft sand below, trees thrown apart, and the entire greenery of the place just decimated by a dull gray dust. Just before you got to the point you'd be leaving atmosphere, though, you did notice something strange, another warp presence at the edge of the fire, who was able to gather the fire, manipulate it in such a way, and then throw it towards your ship. Your pilot, Locke, was narrowly able to avoid this onslaught of flames, and you made your way back to the vessel. Upon arriving back in the hangar bay, immediately you are met by a small squadron of troop to help unload supplies. Some medical staff are there to tend to the wounded, to help gather the bodies. You do notice that the priest of the vessel, the confessor, Elizabeth, is there as well with a small group of her various priests and followers. They come to take care of your cousin, for he is not a common warrior for his burial will need to have a special place. The ship is abuzz with anxiety? No. A seeking of knowledge, of information, a want to know what had happened, what will happen, what is this place, what do we need to know. You can tell that there's more here in the hangar bay than there necessarily should be. People standing amongst the shadows just near to the crates, observers, family members, even children are just standing nearby, waiting to hear. As the chaos of the unload starts to cease, there's a moment where everyone looks for, well, the heads of the ship to exit. Who is the first to leave the ship between the three of you?
I mean, I feel like I'd be waiting for the captain.
I suppose I'll go first.
So as soon as you walk onto that ramp, the entire hangar bay erupts in cheers, clapping, a celebration that you have returned, and you have returned safely.
I'm glad I didn't go first.
This was the first time that the Void's Ghost has successfully landed on an alien world and returned. You definitely feel that the concern that your high factotum Leo had advised you of, the concern of what happens if the rogue trader doesn't return, is quickly washed away by the sight of, well, you're standing and you appear healthy.
Except for that weird lump.
Nah, there's no lump. I'm okay. That's what the armor's for. The armor's a bit scorched, but you know.
As you all begin to separate, one by one, you're kind of pulled off by various members of your crew. Victress, Leo comes to you and, first of all, begins to lay out the funeral plans for your cousin. A plan for 2 days' time for all of his household guard to join you and anyone else recognized in the temple shrine for a full and honorable ceremony. But asks about your expectation for his release. You do have an orbiary on board, a place to store dead bodies if you wish, but the length they can be stored varies by how many bodies are in there. It is very often tradition that those that die at sea or in the void are given a sailor's grave, released from the torpedo tubes or outside of the various other access points, the hangar bay or anything like that, and allowed to be held within the void itself. Knowing your cousin, would you expect for his remains to be preserved until a time can be set for his burial upon a cemetery within your family's world, or Like the many soldiers he fought with, would your expectation be to give him the Viking funeral of sorts, to be released into the void and allow his story, the honor of his past, be the only remains on board?
See, you're trying to get me to eject a perfectly good servitor.
It's a very, remember the way he died was by consumption of flame. He's nothing more than charred bones. You could absolutely create something out of that, but a full-fledged servitor, it would require some time in a vat to rebuild some of that muscle, and
You just had to go and be burned alive, huh? I guess I think he probably want a warrior's burial, so we'll just we'll have a ceremony and then we'll shoot him out of a torpedo tube into space. Well, I guess
Alright.
probably not shoot him out. We'll probably release him dignified, like, instead of putting him in a torpedo and launching him somewhere, but you know.
You're
Stilts,
probably-
weren't you talking to me?
no, not your
Okay.
cousin.
Your cousin didn't die.
I don't know if you even have a cousin, to be honest.
I thought it was my cousin that had died.
No.
Oh, no, it was Spoons.
Yeah. No, your guy's still alive. You lost one of your household guard because he fell into the radiation. But
Yeah.
that was it. So this conversation is likely being held as you are heading to the bridge, to your quarters. Where is it you would be heading to, Victorous?
Probably to my quarters.
Okay.
Just to kind of.
So through a few elevator rides, and the conversation continues. He advised you that he has begun preparing paperwork to claim this planet if you wish to do so. But he does advise, due to the heavy Xenos influence, the additional rogue traders that are making their way to the system, his recommendation is to not waste time on this world. However, if this is your wish, he will draft the paperwork and begin to send it out. It really takes nothing more than a date, a time, a name, and then your astropaths can begin to send it in the network to get it back to the Imperium, to get it back as a recognized planet. But here in the Coronis Expanse, it is one thing to have it in paperwork, it is another thing to actually hold it. And he has begun to study exactly what it might take to get resources to this place. But there are some hanging questions that are likely left for you, Lazarus. Before you had been pulled from the surface of that planet, you had been given some vials, some things to look into for the planet. Now you have the time to really look into that, to study the material of the world, and to really get more detail about what's happening with it now. Your main concern would certainly be the radioactive quality of it. It seems to have increased, but as far as how much or how dangerous that might be, you would need to take some time to study that. But you don't have much time, depending on where you're headed to, since you are there in the hangar bay, nearby the cargo bay. You are pulled off to the side at one point, and Lena, the tech priest you had set to guard the probe, advises that she had a brief encounter with one of the tech priests, Aurelius. It seems he had been gathering some strange readings from the bay itself and wanted to come and investigate. She was able to convince him that everything was under control, but did a little digging and found that not too long ago, a few days, possibly upon the entry into this system, he had sent a message. She was unable to determine who it was sent to, but the information within was regarding the location of this probe and the details gathered on the initial scans. Where is it that you would head to, Lazarus? As you arrive on board, you receive this information. What would your initial objective be?
You're muted, Oz. Oh, he's not here.
Oh.
Oh, now he's back. He just
Oh
got
boy.
back.
Okay. So,
Uh-oh.
it's all good. He missed all that. We'll go back. We'll recap.
Sorry.
No, it's all
Right.
good. So, what you had missed before you had come to the ship, you were spending some time on the planet, kind of studying the materials, trying to get a better idea of what was happening there. Now that you've returned, you have the opportunity to really get a better understanding of what this planet has to offer, what the dangers of the radioactivity might be. And some of the pending questions the rogue trader might have, as far as if this is truly a planet to spend wealth trying to reserve, will likely come from the answers you give. Unfortunately, you're not able to give too much information, as you are pulled aside by Lena, the tech priest that you had set to task guarding the probe. She advises that she had a brief encounter with another tech priest, one Aurelius, and he came due to some strange readings he was gathering from the bay. She was able to convince him that everything was okay, nothing to be concerned about, but did a little bit of digging and found that upon your arrival to this system, he had sent a message out. She was not able to determine to who, but the information within was regarding the initial finding of the probe, the initial scans, and the recovery of the vessel. So, where is it that Lazarus would head to upon the vessel, knowing both the priority of understanding the world itself, but also with this recent news regarding the probe?
Yeah, it's definitely got to be the probe first, because anything we figure out about this planet doesn't matter if we get busted being heretical and stuff. So, I gotta find out what there is to know about that guy who sent the message,
Okay.
and see if I can trace, if there's any way to trace who it was sent to, what was said specifically, anything like that.
Absolutely. So, I'm assuming you head out to find an access panel, maybe head into the maintenance bay or something like that, where it's going to be a bit more private, and begin kind of digging into this individual. Yeah. So for this, I'm gonna say, is it a search, or is it just a tech use? Let's see. Let me take a quick look at discover things that are physically probably not that. Give me a tech use just to access your data logs and see what kind of information you can gather from that. There's a decent amount of crew, so I'm gonna say just doing a vague search just by default is gonna be at a -10, but if you have any bonuses,
I actually have a +10 on tech use tests.
okay.
Because of some cybernetics that I have, so I guess it's just flat.
Oh, very nice.
Hey,
All right.
it's your boy.
So, looking into kind of crew history, the details of the vessel, Aurelius was one recent addition to the crew. He's not a member of the original crew. He was one that the Adeptus Mechanicus kind of gave you as a package. He primarily works within your engine core. Looks like he likely works in engine core 1. And you've had a few rumors kind of come up about him. Or maybe it's just rumors that you've heard come up about yourself. That tech priest that you used to hang out with a lot, the whole servo skull,
Yeah.
Hieronymus.
Yeah.
There were some rumors brewing that perhaps it was not by accident that he was turned into a servo skull. Perhaps someone was trying to vie for position, that person being yourself. It would appear, based off of the few security reports that you have coming from that area, that there may be a few other individuals within the engine core that also share this belief that perhaps Lazarus is not all that deserving of the title Engine Seer Prime. He has not truly shown himself to be worthy of the title.
These mofos. Okay. Yeah. I think about how to deal with that. Got a couple of possibilities rolling around in my head, so
And in regards to the message itself, you can tell based off of the coding and the address that this was sent to another member of the Adeptus Mechanicus, but you're not familiar with the registry. Based off of the information that you can see here, you would expect that it is likely attached to an explorator fleet. This doesn't seem to be going to any kind of homeworld. It does appear to be reaching out to some kind of vessel. And the information is really just a standard rundown of exactly what was recorded up until the point that you locked it down within your supply vaults. So all of the strange registry, the potential time or date of it, the recording of the voice within the machine, things that definitely lean towards this is a possible heretical item, though not calling out in front, right? More in the sense of this is something deserving of study or perhaps more inspection. But you can definitely feel that the message was sent through caution and concern, that it was definitely, we have just captured something that I'm fearful of, and I want to reach out to someone to advise them of it.
yeah. Well, I feel like it's a little too early to be burning bridges, so I am going to approach my Lord Captain with this information.
Exterminatus. Oh, wait.
Okay. That solves that. Murder servitors for everyone.
Shove him out the airlock with Corvus.
So the Adeptus knows about our illicit cargo. They have been advised by one of the people that they sent along with us on this fleet. I think that it might be prudent to give this to them for further study. It would make us look better and keep us from being on the wrong side of that.
Sounds like a good plan. Do you want to take any scans of it before we?
Yeah, so I'll run a last minute battery of tests and stuff to see what more I can determine about it. And then I will notify the Adeptus that we have this package, but we're sidetracked by this quest for something pearl, the black pearl,
The Dread
Dread Pearl. Black Pearl was the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, right?
So
Johnny Depp comes
testing
out.
a device like this by yourself would take weeks to really study the machine spirit, to look into the small intricacies, to really get a full understanding of it safely. Just a single operation, it's going to take weeks at a time. Getting others involved, it will likely enhance how quickly you find things, but it also comes down to what exactly you're trying to learn about it. It is going to be hard for you to find a lot of information to base it off of. There are very few Adeptus Mechanicus records regarding this kind of technology because it was all burned, destroyed, consumed by fire, flame, and binary viruses. Because, well, it could contain AI, and it was because of AI that mankind nearly came to extinction. You have discovered that it is likely something made millennia ago, sent into the Coronis Expanse years before any man transcended the warp and came to this place themselves, that the makers of this device have likely been purged from all records and history. You know that there is a living machine spirit within it, well-aged and completely unfamiliar from the type you have. It even seems young, spirited, a bit feisty and hyperactive. Even in its slumber, you can feel that its heartbeat, its rhythm, the life of this vessel is elevated and agitated to a point. Whereas the machine spirit of your great spaceship is old, wizened, maybe a bit crazy, neurotic at times, but it speaks to you with purpose, with understanding, knowing exactly what it wants, when it wants. Perhaps it's stubborn, but it has no excitement for going fast or fighting well. It simply wants to run well, to exist well, to live well. So what is it that you'd be looking for, and how involved would you allow this search to be?
It's not a ship, it's like a drone, right? Do we know the purpose of the drone?
So it's a probe. So
probe.
it's a long, round, almost pill-shaped drone with a large dish at the end of it, like a radar dish. It's covered in these intricate kind of carvings where all of the mechanics, the wires, the machinery of it are made to not just be functional but also artistic and beautiful in design. Let's see. Go ahead and give me a Forbidden Lore Adeptus Mechanicus. And because this is ancient history, because this is ancient history, I'm gonna say it would probably be considered a hard roll. So as it is now, it would be a -20 unless you have anything you can add to it.
Unfortunately, I don't.
I do. Better
mean,
do it well.
You were just radioing down to the Mechanicus?
I told him to do the scan, so
Yeah.
do it well.
All right. I'm happy to take the -20 to -10.
I'm gonna abuse it every time.
But I don't think there's anything else that I have that adds to that, sadly. So let's just see what happens.
You've got all your little
No, I don't know shit.
You know that probes are still utilized within the Mechanicus, whether it is to gather information, say, on the warp itself, as they will be fired into a warp storm, whether it is to get information upon a system. There are probes that are used to pierce planets to gather nutrient and resource information. So they've certainly been used on a scientific level, but the probes you're familiar with are much, much smaller. Maybe a few 100 meters long, where this is, much, much bigger than that. It's taking up a fairly large portion of your cargo bay. The fact that this is so far out here by itself with no connection to anyone within the system, it's really hard to understand the purposes of it beyond it was clearly sent to probe the depths of space. It was sent out to get an understanding of things well beyond what mankind had really found, learned, or discovered at the point of its release into the system.
So I think that I'd be interested in trying to dig deeper into the data that this is collected, trying to keep the AI asleep so that people don't think that I'm dealing with evil machine spirits, only good ones. See if I can find out if there's any sort of record of who created this, and if there are any additional functions other than gathering data. Like, those are the kind of things that I'm going to be looking for. I do want to bring in the guy who narked on me,
Okay.
to help study. Also, how crazy is Lena? In terms of, like, could she act like a sane person if I had her also studying along with regular non-heretic?
Yeah, she understands. She is still tech priest, and she's also very protective of any secret she holds. So she would absolutely be able to work with others. I mean, it is. I think for Lena, if I remember correctly, she works within the kind of the Geller field generator, the void shield array, kind of those lower deck electronic areas.
Yeah, So at least I'd like to get those two in here working together, along with myself. I don't know if there's anybody else who would be a candidate for digging into this. I do want more hands on deck because we don't have maybe a ton of time to get into what this thing does. Because I do want to send a message to the Adeptus sooner rather than later that we've found something. I just want to give them something that I found first.
Okay. So it'll take some time to gather the individuals there. In the meantime, you have just witnessed the star chart back there on the planet. Now, you know that the planet itself holds worth, but the Dread Pearl itself holds much more worth. You've taken a drawing, you've taken a picture, you've gathered your information, and likely headed back to your navigation towers.
Yep.
Heading through the sanctum, one of your secondaries pulls you aside. I need to advise you of something, Navigator. While you're there, and as you kind of enter into the sanctum, you do smell a sense of very strong incense, the smell of holy water. It is not the natural smell that you are familiar with. And they continue. The confessor has been visiting quite often. She has been complaining of dark dreams, a darkness coming from this place. I have asked that she not return until you had a chance to speak with her, but she was beginning to become more and more intense over the past few days. Is there anything that we should be worried about? The travel here did seem a bit too smooth. Now, just to remind you, Phazon, as to perhaps remember a bit as to why this might be happening. You currently have a court of demon's blood saved in a secure...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that's what.
Mm-hmm.
So, who is this person and what kind of power do they have?
So this is the head priest of the ship. She is one of the 3 remaining members of this vessel that survived the vanishing. She's the direct contact to the God Emperor. She is basically one of the key members. I mean, she's what keeps this place from falling to demons. It is really kind of her goal to not just have the God Emperor limited to the Temple Shrine, to really turn the entire Void ship, the entire Firestorm, into a true cathedral of the Imperial Creed, to have it always echoing with prayers to the God Emperor of just being of the utmost praise and holiness directed by his divine sight.
Yeah. But he tends to kind of eat my people, so...
It's true. He is a very... Well, not you. He doesn't eat navigators. Navigators are special special thing. So you don't ever have to worry about the black ships and potentially becoming a snack for the Emperor. You're on a whole other level. The navigator gene is a very protected and unique mutation that is passed through just through bloodline, and especially the house that you're attached to, the Vischer house, like the blood within you, the ability for you to potentially sire another navigator really does put you on a power scale equal to the rogue trader, if not in some cases even higher, as your house does have more power than his. So on this ship, as far as people that should be recognized, while you're not the rogue trader's number 2, the Imperium would recognize you as one of the primary members aboard this vessel. Now, for a standard Psyker, this is not a bloodline thing. This is a warped thing. It happens to you or it doesn't. And if it does happen to you and you happen to live on a world where the Empire is aware of you, you will be picked up by a black ship, you will be tested, and you will either be turned to become a sanctioned Psyker for the Imperium, or you will become one of the 1,000 souls that are fed to the God Emperor every day to keep the divine light of His Holiness within the system.
Yeah, so it's a technicality, but he still does.
Right. You probably have cousins that have been consumed.
I guess allow her to do as she wishes, as long as it is not during, warp. But crew's private quarters are off limits.
Absolutely. I will make sure she has access to only the public areas, nothing more. And if she does push back, I will direct her to you. Navigator, will that be acceptable?
Yes.
So, taking care of that, heading back up to your private sanctum. Take a moment to study these charts to really get a...
That'd take more than a moment, but...
Oh yeah, it would definitely take a bit. What is it that you find yourself doing first? Is it pulling out star charts you're familiar with for comparison? Is it just kind of entering into a meditation to gain perspective, to try to direct your sight a bit more?
A bit of both. I'm definitely gonna be pulling out like the charts that I've been thinking of as far as like where like approximately this could be, like some of the stuff that was familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like laying them out and just kind of closing my eyes, meditating a little bit and seeing which ones kind of call to me.
Okay. So yeah, let's see. This is going to be not a navigation. Just looking through skills here. Let me take a look at your character sheet here real fast. Yeah, I think this is going to be a Scholastic Lore Astromancy test. Yep. So you're taking the reference points amongst this picture and you're trying to then compare it to dive into your mind to really pinpoint where these are. This is going to be a difficult roll, so -10, unless you have any bonuses that will apply to it.
I mean, I have an automatic +10 that's already on it, but it's just because it's trained. As far as any other skills, I can't think of any.
Okay. So that'll be Scholastic Lore Astromancy.
Would the modifier still be on -10?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Ooh.
As I meditate, the maps just call to me.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly what we're looking for here. So let me grab a couple things here.
You're like, darn it, I wasn't expecting you to.
No, that's
16.
awesome. Now you have some choices. So I just gotta pop them up on our page. Let's put you there. Oh, come on. Where's the rest of you? So many fun ones here. Up there's one. I have one more. Is it you? Yes, yes it is. All right. So let me pull you over to our Coronis Expanse map real fast. We have one more. This is why I kinda wished I could get things working on Foundry, because it would make my time a lot easier. Wouldn't have to go through one at a time to figure out where each of these things were. It would just be there. There we go. So reflecting upon this map, you definitely feel like at one time, in a way, they were all connected. And then warp storms, time itself, caused them each to be strewn all across the Coronis Expanse. You identify 5 different locations, the bulk of them existing within the Heathen Stars, which is up to your north, up in this area. 4 systems, bloop, here within the Heathen Stars, and then 1 down to the south in the Accursed Immense. When you look upon the system down to the south, you get some bad vibes from it. The dot that you've been focusing on within this vision, within this drawing, this meditation, is covered in consuming darkness. And from it you hear these horrible sounds of metal scratching upon metal, these alien high-pitched cries, whispers of disembodied voices, all things scary, all things dark. A of the planets up in the heathen stars, you don't have the same feeling, and some of them you do even have the sense that you feel life, that there are things living and attached. But most importantly, on every single one, you feel a psychic connection, a nexus point of sorts, that each one of these locations are a piece of the puzzle. They simply need to be turned on, plugged in, connected to, and the true location of the Dread Pearl will be revealed.
Well, looks like we got some field trips ahead of us.
Having reviewed this information and taking a moment to track their location amongst the stars, you are able to, with that roll, kind of get a bit more information on this region of space, the heathen stars as well. They say tenuous routes have been discovered from Winterscale's realm to this mysterious region where numerous human civilizations flourish beyond the Emperor's light, growing ever more distant and strange without his guidance. You would know that any routes through the heathen stars would be considered a surly route, meaning that the light is a bit fluctuating, not as steady. And as far as those having charts, well, members closely tied to Winterscale, like House Ortelius and House Cassini, are likely to have charts. But for those that have been tossed away, like your house, you would not have charts to these stars. So traveling there will require you to either travel uncharted or to find some kind of resource, some way to get some charts.
Well, that's not good.
So, Rogue Trader, Victress, you have taken some time for yourself to really focus on this world, this strange adventure that you've been on so far. You hear your tech priest is in the midst of trying to garner more information about the probe within the belly of your vessel. Your navigator has secluded himself for meditation and focus on these images from the tower. You have funerals to prepare for, but more importantly, you have some decisions to be made. You have a few items of worth within your vessel. The probe itself, in which your Enginseer Prime is advised. Perhaps it's a good idea to reach out to the Adeptus Mechanicus, get this over to them. You have the dark crates, these statues full of narcotic, in which you know that they are being expected at the breaking yards in XR 651, the station just north of where you are now. And then you have this, well, this world itself. You still need to garnish a bit more information as to what the resources will truly be. But if this is something you do want to entail, we have a few roles to make, a few decisions to make to really finalize this paperwork and start getting some things shipped on its way. So at any point, do you try to work with your staff to get more information about the planet? Are you looking to get an idea about cost? What is your purpose with this system and this planet, knowing all of the dangers that befall it now?
Oh, I want it. I lost a cousin to it, and it's gonna be mine. Everybody will know to fear the Emperor. So I'm probably gonna have him draft up the papers and send them out to claim the planet.
Now, every good planet needs a good name. Do
Ooh,
you
can I name
have...
it?
No.
Do you have a name for it?
We have a planet, and we will call it Bob. You can't just call a planet Bob. No, I don't have a name for it yet.
Okay.
I should have thought of one here. Let me see. Whatever. Let's cheat. Planet name generator. Oh, cool. There's a generator for everything. I love it.
Are you really surprised?
Mega Diablo.
God damn, that's a tough name. It's not a planet to mess with.
There we go. That's the first one we got. There we go.
Mega Diablo.
Mega Diablo. That's
All right.
the first one that's what we're going with. Here's this.
I mean, meth is bad.
Well, it is full of methane and Diablo fire. You got lava everywhere, so it actually kind of fits.
All right. So if we
It sounds
look
like
at, let me pull it up. Where's our sheet? So if we pull up the information, we had started with what we had originally called Koopa Psi 12, which now we will call Meth Mega Death
Mega
World
Diablo.
Diablo. There are a few things to note here. Again, you do have resources. You have the radioactive resource, you have the organic compound resource. You have blown up pretty much all of the Xenos resources that you are aware of. In order to calculate kind of what the initial cost of this planet will be, we have to take a few things into account. So,
Can we say rapidly disassembled instead of blown up? It sounds nicer.
I agree.
absolutely. Yeah, it was cleaned up. It was just a complete mess. No
Yeah.
one
We
needs
just liked
to...
it. It was nice work.
We glassed the planet, man. You're not gonna. We're the Covenant.
No. We didn't
Mhm.
glass it. We were a lot nicer than that.
We glassed half of it. It's okay. It's a nice smooth surface to land and put buildings on now.
Yeah.
crater.
I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
protected wall.
this checks out.
So let's see, what size was this planet again? Let's see. Let me just show it to one of you because that will actually be helpful to figure out what we are doing here.
Hey,
So it's a low mass, moderate world with pure atmosphere. It's starting to get a little bit less pure, I would say.
Nah.
filter
We
that in.
have
That's what servitors are
temperate world. All right. So what kind of gravity does it have? Low gravity.
For. Does it have low gravity?
It does have low gravity, indeed.
Oh, we didn't try jumping.
The atmosphere is moderate and at the moment pure.
So that's why you couldn't climb the
The
tower. You weren't
climate is
used to the
temperate.
low gravity.
The habitability is verdant.
Yeah, I'm a pleasure planet man. I used to climbing flesh, not towers. I couldn't think of a proper way to say that. I climbed the titties, not the towers.
Slanesh is there for you.
All right. So who is going to be the negotiator for these costs? Who's going to be the one making the deals, trying to get
Oh,
the
it should
supplies?
totally be me.
Can either be one of you or it could be your crewmate, which would be rolling out a 45.
What? What is that? It's a.
So this is going to be a commerce. It's either going to be a difficult -20 commerce test or a hard -20 inquiry test to basically be the negotiator for.
I'll have to roll it because I think I have the highest commerce.
I don't even have commerce on my sheet.
It's an
I-
advanced.
Oh no, there it is. Yeah, no, I have a 0.
What do you got, Oz?
Well, funny you should ask. I also have a 0.
Oh, darn. I guess with my 69, I'll have to do something.
Nice.
Fellowship, so fellowship's like my highest stat.
All right. So this will determine if you get any advantage to this
So is it
check. So basically what we're doing is we're determining how much profit factor it's going to cost. For every degree of success you take, it'll be -1 profit factor from the total.
N modifier?
For the commerce test, that's correct. All right, so that would be -1.
So just a -1 profit. That's not bad. I mean, we're not great with profit factor right now, but because we did
Yeah.
buy a ship, which we need
Yeah.
to also stock and get people out of
Yeah,
here.
we need to kit that bitch up.
Okay, so with a large planet size, a low gravity, moderately pure atmosphere, temperate climate, verdant habitability, or habitability, -1 to your total. It means that to found this planet would cost you 5 profit factor.
That ain't bad.
So that would put us to 31 current profit factor. What do you say, boys?
I say let's do it. You gotta spend money to make money.
So what? We're doing it. Faison got outvoted, even though he's all for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
So-
all for it. What are you talking about? Outvoted.
Well, you didn't vote, so I just. We didn't get a chance.
Now you have to determine what exactly is this planet going to be used for, and this will determine what the initial equipment and colonists are going to need to be, so that we can kind of see where they're going to be gathered from. Now, in order to do that, it's probably a good idea to get a better understanding of the world itself, what is happening here. So Lazarus, I'm assuming at some point you are going to have taken some time to do a bit more test, a bit
Yeah.
more study.
If that's possible.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna look through the lores real fast to see what might make sense here. Not forbidden. Let's see. What do we have here? Energy, creed, judgment, legend, neurology, cult, philosophy. Tech, not that. Okay. This is basically an investigation thing. So I could say, again, utilizing it's probably going to be a search, but you can use tech use as a bonus on it by utilizing your technology. But it really is kind of digging into the details. Or actually, no, this is gonna be logic, right? You're familiar with what's going on, but it's really trying to get an idea of what this planet is hiding. What are the secrets that are in there? What are the puzzles about the chemistry and the real nature of this
I like that
world?
way better than search.
Yeah. So we'll say this is gonna be a logic test. Just a normal roll, so no negatives, no advantages by default unless you have anything.
I think that I do have something that gives me a bonus on logic test, but let me just double check
Do
on
your
that.
research good.
Do it good. I think it's one of my cybernetic implants, possibly. Yeah. Calculus Logi. Update.
Okay.
Plus 10 to bonus, plus 10 to any literacy, logic, or scholastic lore. So, yeah, that's cool. Got that.
All right.
So we are doing logic at plus 20. Because I was told to do it good. And I still barely made it.
Hey.
I guess it's not barely, but...
Nice. Okay. So yeah, you spend some time really diving into the details of this world. There's been a shift. The disturbance of late, whether it being the heavy Psychana influence of the Warp Temple or the bombardment of the ship, have caused the volcano to become a bit more active. And now the radioactive kind of sludge has begun to spread. You can tell based off of some of the samples you have here that this is not the first time this has happened. In some of the wood that's been gathered, you can actually see that maybe close to 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, another similar event would have caused a large amount of this radioactive fluid to have come down the same canyon, the same pathways as it seems to be now. There's a very careful balance within this ecosystem, and the entire biology of the world kind of hangs on the radiation staying in its very limited pools and streams, allowing the forest itself to be able to fight it back. It is really the nature, the forest, the trees, the roots that are able to protect the life on this world. If you look at the map here, up to the north, you have the volcano that you know of, and you do see a bit of danger up in this area, kind of right in here. Oh, that's putting it on the wrong the wrong screen. Let's delete that and grab out here. Yeah. So just kind of to the northwest, up in this area, there's a bit of plains land, some flat land that's almost surrounded like a bowl. You can tell based off of the height map that you have that it sits a little bit lower, and right now there is a pretty heavy stream that is starting to make its way into that area. This has a potential of offsetting the ecology of this planet. That if it does hit into this area, sit there and reside, that it could start to spread and cause a lot of death, destruction, and decay of the area surrounding it. Now, the type of radioactive material that you see here, in its liquid form, you do know of other planets that are able to harvest this kind of material. It is a mining operation of sorts, and when done safely, can be used in the production of a variety of weapons, vehicles, even some type of just power supply. Think old nuke, generators and things like that. This is a very dangerous task that has a very high death rate. That while you can still do a lot to protect yourself from the radiation, oftentimes the menial workers, if they are not servitors, if they are man, they succumb to radiation poison within months, years, if you're lucky. But there's some other potential secrets to be learned here. You can tell that, again, the way that these plants fight back against the radiation, it is a method that perhaps you're not familiar with. The way that everyone deals with radiation right now is basically, protective suits or maybe some kind of medicine to help alleviate the pain, but there really is no way to fully stop this radiation. But these plants seem to have a heightened ability to do that. Perhaps more time, more study of just the plant life will release secrets not yet known. The curative properties that you found for now, this agent that is able to deal with burn wounds, that alone, if harvested, if obtainable, can be sold in multiple markets, whether it is within the various shipyards for the crews within the vessels, to just the Imperium itself to offer out to its guardsmen, to its soldiers, to the vast fleets of the Imperium. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go on.
So that, from your readings, those are the main concerns. Is that right now the current disturbance of this place, there's been kind of an awakening of this radioactive fluid, and if not stopped or controlled, it does have the ability or the potential of offsetting the ecology of this place, basically turning it from the vibrant, pure world that it is now into a tainted death world. From some of the studies, some of the pictures, maybe even some of the scans that you're looking at, you actually do come across another set of alien ruins. It is much further to the south, and it actually looks much, much larger than the ruins that you had seen around the temple itself. If to compare it, it is a camp versus a metropolis.
Oh shit.
There's no immediate readings of life. It does appear to be, again, ruins. But yeah, you definitely feel like it is something that has the same kind of age to it that coincides with whatever the last event, that radioactive event that you can read within the wood of this place. Its time, kind of its death, its decay would coincide with whatever that event may have been. So, all of that being said, you have a few options to select for as far as your main purpose. It can be for research, it can be agricultural, mining and industry, ecclesiastical, pleasure, or war. Each one of these have their own
Eldar
bonuses,
Pleasure World.
own things that they can do. For example, a research world means that when you are attempting to upgrade, say, your infrastructure, or making void upgrades, you have a plus 10 bonus on your acquisitions, but you do have a lower amount of loyalty. For mining and industry, all of your upgrades have a plus 10 bonus, but your security is a little bit lower. For agriculture, it's going to be any kind of upgrades to your agriculture has a bonus, but again, your security is actually increased. So looking at the various options that you all have here, what direction would you move to? What would be the initial purpose? Would it be to stem and harvest the flow of radiation? Would it be to gather as much of this curative property as possible? Just basically plow the rainforest, gather as much as you can, and that's it. The world's done for. Yeah, Rogue Trader, this kind of goes to you. What would your purpose for this planet be?
Well, the main resource on this planet is all the radiation plants and all the uranium and the like. So probably, can it be mining and agriculture? Does it have to fall into one category or more than one?
It can be split, but you have to think of the amount of supplies that have to be gathered.
Agriculture, like growing and harvesting these plants, seems like a really great kind of moneymaker.
Especially long term.
Yeah.
In the short term, it's going to cost more and yield less. But
I think you said
being the guys that control how to be able to get rid of radiation, that's a big one.
That's pretty huge.
cycles or something of stuff you could harvest from it.
Sorry, say that again.
I think you said something last time about it had like 80s or something cycles of how much you could harvest from.
So for your radioactive, you have 73 cycles for that. You have 88 cycles of your curative compound and 9 cycles of Xenos Ruins of Eldar Origin.
So it'd be, pardon me. Yeah, we'll probably just end up harvesting all these plants, so probably agriculture. It'd be a bit more expensive, but
I think that's probably the better long-term investment.
yeah, and if we need to, we can sink more resources later into getting the materials from underground or
Yeah.
So are you looking to have a reoccurring cycle so that it's not, again, cutting down the rainforest, but it is a very prepared and refurbishable kind of harvest? Or is this,
Yeah,
again,
kinda
get
like-
as much as you can as fast as you can?
No, I'm not really looking to just completely raise the planet and just get stuff. I'm just looking for.
Yeah, you wanted to work on your legacy, didn't you?
Yeah, we'll do long term. And what better than to be the guy who
Cured radiation.
cures radiation, especially for the gun crews who already love me. Now the other gun crews can love me.
No. You don't want to cure radiation. You want to give them a pill that helps with the radiation. So that way you can always have
Listen here,
a
Nestle.
sale.
Okay. So what we need to do here is basically draft up our charter, and this is very similar to the objectives we already have. Let's talk out about what you all think you'll need to make this a successful venture. So, what kind of settlement are you expecting to bring in? Is this going to be a massive crew of scientists and workers to not only just harvest but to study this ecology?
But we'll also need, because we don't know if we've gotten rid of all the Eldar or not, so we'll need a big section of troops as well.
Yep.
I mean, there's a freaking like city.
For a while.
So yeah, we're gonna want to be real careful.
Yep. So troops to cleanse the world of Xenos influence.
Hey, those troops will get glory too. It'll be okay. How often do you get to be the troopers that come and kill Eldar?
Yeah.
Are
really.
you expecting to have a settlement on world or everything's off world? Like to actually have a living place here to be built, or just bring in the ships and everything will be harvested and just brought directly to the ships?
I would almost say that the volatile nature of the volcano and radiation and stuff might mean stay off world as much as possible.
Like a space station
Okay.
or something. But yeah, probably off-world would be better because I mean we'll probably have like a small settlement on there,
Yeah, sure.
but most of it will be all the manufacturing and stuff will be other places.
Are you wanting to look for any ways to try to stem the flow of the radiation to extend the life cycle of this planet?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's
I think that also the other
also
thing is,
getting into awful costly measures.
yeah, but I'm
We're
also
not
thinking
exactly the richest right now.
true.
But I mean, if we do fix the radiation, we'll have a whole planet to.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a major concern, but if we can do it while we're there.
Okay.
I think that it's not a bad thing to have, like, if we can dam it up, that would give us like a better place to test
Yeah, if we could be the little
the
dust
interactions and stuff. Yeah, like, because we'll have radiation and we'll have the plants, and we can see how they interact more closely if we've got like a kind of
So
reservoir
research
can or
station
something.
kind of
Yeah.
deal.
And
Yep.
we can also try to grow the plants on another planet as well and see if it'll take. So, yeah, we'll have. Yeah, it's not going to be a main concern, but definitely if we find a way to do it, it'll be nice.
Okay.
See, Hawk would have loved this part. This is that real civilizations kind of nonsense that he goes for.
So, we are going to for our charter here, we need additional troops to help cleanse the world of Xenos influence and likely protect it, because again, you still have a slew of rogue traders that
Yeah.
you don't think have arrived yet that are probably going to show up and be like, hey, what's the deal?
Yeah.
So yeah, troops to help cleanse the world of it. A space station for resource gathering and transportation. Yeah. to be able to kind of bring things around. You'll need all of the harvesting equipment for not only the plants, but also it sounds like you want to be gathering seeds and stuff like that to try to regrow it elsewhere. A small on-planet settlement, which luckily doesn't need any kind of atmosphere generation right now. Do you want it to have any radioactive protection?
The settlement, yeah, probably.
Okay.
Not, I wouldn't rely on it because you never know if you get attacked and then it ruptures and then everybody dies and it's like, oh god.
Right.
But definitely if we can have some kind of safe space where maybe they can take off the helmet every once in a while and eat. And yeah, sure, we'll get a little bit of radioactive protection.
Okay. And then you want to look into what options you might have to help control the spread of radiation, and a future kind of endeavor to also have a research station to learn a little bit more about how this planet all works. So yeah, your original colony is really going to be about getting your troops out here, but also the colonists that are going to help set up your settlement and begin the harvest, but also to begin building the space station kind of in orbit. So what your resource is going to do is basically start figuring out where it is you might be able to get some of these options. But do you have anyone in particular that you want to reach out to, whether it is any of the rogue traders you've contacted before, if you want to just, again, offer an opportunity, or are there any other agents within the Coronis Expanse that you want to potentially partnership? Beyond that, you could always reach out to your family as well and see if they're willing to back some things, but you have to know that is a much, much, much longer route to get out to the Coronis Expanse. If you're looking for speed, you are likely going to want to work with one of the other rogue traders within the Coronis Expanse. Now, you haven't met all of them, but it's completely up to you on whether this is something that you're going to just you're going to strategize and you're going to gather all of this material from whoever you need, or if maybe you want to look into who might be a good contact to have to maybe help guide me on this journey.
I tell you what I want to do, boys. And this is just a little brainstorming.
Yeah.
But if we contact, what was it? Lady Lee, and then the other guy, whatever his name was.
Abel Garrett.
What was it? Yeah. I was trying to, in the list of all the names I have, figure out which one. Yeah, if we contact them and say, hey, I didn't find the Dread Pearl, but I do have a planet.
That's not
You
bad.
kind of want to help me with this, and then if we find the Dread Pearl, you'll know I'm at least good for the help.
Do you want to reach out to both of them, or do you have one in particular that you want to reach out to? You'll know, again, Lady Sun Li, she has vast experience in agricultural worlds. That's what the entire Macau dynasty is all about.
And Eldar World.
and Eldar World. But because she has that much power, if there was to be conflict, that could be a danger. She could potentially challenge you for this world, maybe not through paperwork, but just through power itself. Abel Garrett, he's still relatively new. You know that he is not he is not actually the head of his household, but he is the rogue trader within his household that are here within the Coronis Expanse. So he doesn't have as much power, but he may have more interest. He had mentioned that his goal is to expand his family's influence just like you. So he could maybe already have some contacts, some individuals to work with. And if you want to give me, I would say a challenging, so a -10. rogue trader test. I could even name off a few others that you might know within the Coronis Expanse. Is it Forbidden Lore or Scholastic? Common Lore? Yeah, Common Lore Rogue Trader.
Do it good.
10. Well,
Do
straight
it
roll
good,
then.
Captain.
Oh God, what did I do? Oh, I inspected page real quick. What? Oops. Nope, I don't know nobody.
Do you want to reroll?
Burn a fate point for that. We'll take a look here.
So you could burn, or not burn, but use a fate point to reroll and use another one to add +10 if you wanted.
Sure. So, straight roll.
Ow, that's even worse. Ouch.
Ooh, that's
That
a
doesn't feel good.
that's a crit fail. Is what that
Thanks.
is.
Frank, thanks for talking me into that. I don't know how. I get it.
Yeah, upon
Dice are assholes.
looking
It's a
into
fact.
your records a bit deeper, it's possible that you come across, like, it's not that things are missing, but it just doesn't seem to have as much information in it as you had expected. You know, this vessel has been used for a long time, but you know that before your grandfather kind of passed it on to you, that he did have a decent amount of time pulling data from it. And while his intention may have been to allow you to carve your own path, to really ply you with your own resources to get out of here, it seems like him having just kind of removed information, unfortunately, has left you a little bit short-sighted. This is something that you would probably want to travel to one of the more populated parts of space. Heading back to Footfall would certainly be an option, but there are other areas of space. Nope, I don't want you back in the ship. I want you back in the
I'm
Coronis
gonna go back to
Expanse.
football anyway, I think.
You do eventually have to head back to Footfall for the recovery of your additional vessel. Another thing regarding the planet you're going to have to think about is leadership. Who is going to be in charge of your planet while you are away? You will have to instill a governor of sorts. Now, there is another system, another world that could potentially bring some information, some knowledge, and that is the world of Damaris within the Cauldron. It's just south, the one that's kind of south of Footfall, right near the God Emperor's Scourge. It is a fully populated kind of the far reach Imperial world. It is really the only fully recognized Imperial world within the Coronis Expanse. It has a large city, it has a full fleet of guards. It's run by a planetary governor. So if you're looking for supplies or certainly contacts, and you weren't wanting to go to the scummy place of Footfall, you wanted a place really recognized by the Imperium, heading to Damaris would be such a place. But again, knowing their connection to the Imperium, knowing what you carry on board your vessel, there could be a danger heading into that place.
Well, that's why we were getting rid of the drone, right?
Yeah.
And the freaking statues are hidden.
I mean, again, the breaking yards could be another potential resource gathering as well. It is one of the only public or well recognized shipyards within the Coronis Expanse, coming with all of the dark and sludginess that you can expect. But as far as information gathering, as far as supplies go, that could be a very close, nearby, and resourceful point of contact if you're able to deal with them.
So we can go to the breaking yards, and then from there we can go down here and visit, and then we can go back to Footfall and get the ship and other things, and then we come back out here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your navigator has advised you of the other star points as well, the ones that you can see upon your map. Yeah.
I would probably rather have another ship if we went up into uncharted space as well.
Mm-hmm. That would make
Yeah,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Just
Certainly
like,
does. All right.
So
So-
I guess we'll go to the breaking yards. What do you guys think? That's okay?
Yeah,
All right. So
I'm down for it.
I've got to find a second in command at some point too. So.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
So Leo drafts your charter, preparation to claim this world. I'm sure a copy is sent off to your family, and you make a preparation to head to the breaking yards.
Send a letter about Corvus as well.
Mm, yep. In preparation for your departure, there is a moment to hold the funeral. Everyone is gathered within the shrine to the Emperor, and this is one of the larger, more open spaces of the ship. Gilded windows kind of cover all of these peaks and curves of the roof, allowing you to look out upon the stars, the light beyond. A large statue to the Emperor stands to the back behind the altar, the pedestal. Large stands for choirs along the side. The most perfect pitch of sound within this space. All officers within the ship are gathered in this place. Every member of your household guard is here as well. Uno, do you find yourself attending this funeral, or do you remain reserved?
Well, I would be attending, but I would like
He's playing
not be.
Angry Birds well in the back.
I would not be like at the front of the pack.
Mm-hmm. You would attend. You would make sure that people see you, but not necessarily want to be one of the... You don't want to be called up to speak about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The
Here we have Uno, his greatest friend, would like to say a paragraph he wrote.
A haiku.
The confessor walks to the pedestal, and a small servo skull begins to record, casting her image upon a screen draped behind, allowing her to stand much larger than life. She's wearing a dark red outfit with a script kind of from the base of her chin all the way down to the bottom of the floor of the scriptures and writings from the God Emperor. She wears a very tall white hat that is brimmed with lit candles. And as she approaches, she takes a moment to look straight up looking almost up the nostril of the Emperor and allowing some of the wax to drip down upon her assistants, helping to carry the tail of her outfit. You hear the small sizzles of flesh being impacted by this hot wax, but not a curse, a cry out, or a moan is heard. She walks and looks forward. Blessed brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today within sight of the God Emperor for the closure and release of one of our own. We all knew him as a brave and honorable warrior, a devout and holy leader, a dedicated ally, a close partner, and a loving family member. He has served the God Emperor for time since he could walk. Walked upon many worlds, slain many beasts, conquered Xenos, demon, and man alike. He now stands by the side of our God Emperor, prepared to fight eternal by his side. His name will not be forgotten. His teachings live within each of us. He was as loyal to each of you as he would have expected you to be to our Lord Captain. Take a moment now to search between yourselves, to search within yourselves, to challenge yourself to rise to his rank. To rise to his position. Not by title, but by how you carry yourselves, how you work, and how you live. Do not allow his death to frighten you, for death never frightened him. When we say goodbye, it is only to the flesh of the man. It is only allowing him to pass from this life and to be released in the beyond. So now, close your eyes. As we ring out the hymn of the God Emperor, the room erupts in sound of a deep, mellow, long note hymn. The funeral rites of the guardsmen. Many say that this is the most well-known hymn in the entire universe. That even those that do not speak Low Gothic will know of this song for the fact it is sung by the second the thousands of guardsmen killed each and every moment. Loud bells are rung, and you hear the unique edits, the additions by those who also served the Imperium. The small changes to tone, the addition of a grunt, a groan, a cheer in between each verse. Victress, you stand and watch as your crew recognizes your cousin for all that he was, for all that he served you for, the protection he gave, the advice he provided, the fact that he was your family. In a way, it doesn't sound like the tone of their voices is to simply serve him, but to recognize you as well. Eventually, the song does cease, and the confessor looks to you, for it will be your beck and call, your speech, and your order that will finally release him to his eternal grave.
You're gonna make me give a speech?
Right after this intermission. Get right.
God. Never been to a funeral. What do I say? Oh, and there's the choir music. Thanks, Stilts. That's what I needed.
No pressure. You're fine.
Corvus was a good guardsman, a good soldier, good friend, family member. He served me well, better. He served the Emperor well. And he wouldn't have had it any other way. And now we send him to the Emperor's embrace. And that's it.
So with that,
Man, a
and
few,
oh, what's that?
man, a few words.
With that, the order is given. You hear the single release torpedo tubes, followed by a volley from each battery. It is no longer just the ship, but the entire vessel that rings out with the clanging of metal upon metal, the stomping of boots. The entire place recognizes this death, a connection not only to the man, but to the others that had been lost in this place. Everyone is allowed a moment of time to grieve, to focus, to pray. But once the moment is done, the bosuns begin to shout their orders, get everyone back on task. For it sounds like a trip is in order. Another travel back into the warp, off to a distant breaking yard. As you each begin to take your positions in preparation to make your way out of the system, a few days' journey. We'll go ahead and pause for the night here. Next time when we return, we will travel back into the void, heading to the breaking yards. We'll have a better idea as to what kind of resources we might be able to gather. We might get an idea as to what else is going on in the distant space. And we'll see what information our Engineer Prime has learned about this probe. For tonight's session, you all get, I believe it's, how much is it? It is 700 XP. So go ahead on your character sheet. You can add that to your XP total.
It's under the talents.
Yep, so that'll be under your talents.
You just add it to earned XP?
Correct. Yep.
I gotta get a calculator.
I
It's
believe
700, yeah.
it is 700. Yep. So each of you should have. Oh, that doesn't help me. Let's try this page.
Wow.
So
automatic
it should.
You have to spend.
Yep.
It didn't update the XP to spend.
It did for you. You're at 3550 now. I saw update live. I was watching it.
Oh, I must have did the math in my head and already added it because I remember it being 3550.
Ah,
I'm probably seeing things.
Yeah, so everybody should be at 14,200.
hey, hey.
Yeah.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I am.
So I still got nothing else I can do. So
Well, that's another thing you can look into. So real fast, if we want to do a quick review of everything, we have the planets being set up. We got the dark crates that you're going to get resolved. You have the probe that you're going to go get researched and then delivered, sold, left behind, whatever's going to happen there. In order for you to become a Kolkite Servo Master, you need to get that device. So you need to find Strixus somewhere, and it is possible that maybe someone at the Breaking Yards might know where to go. You just got to ask the question, see what they might have.
I'm just saying, should have kept your cousin's skull for your servitor.
that's okay. We still have a prisoner.
You do still have a prisoner. He is in the brig, likely very concerned about what just happened. There was a lot of noise in the vessel there real fast. Maybe
Well,
not.
earlier there was a freaking orbital bombardment that he was hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lots of shock maneuvers, and then silence for probably 12 hours, and then another cannon blast and torpedo launch, and now silence as the ship starts moving around again. He's probably very confused. That
So,
can't get confused.
yeah, lots of fun stuff we're gonna have for next time. Just for all of my players, I'm gonna have a goal to probably wrap up sessions around 8:30 right now, just so I can help out with the family a little bit more. So yeah, I think if we can get started around 6, we'll be great. That'll give us more than enough time to get through some of this. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. Thank you everyone out there that might be watching. We will be here on Tuesday as often as we can. The goal is every week, but again, life happens sometimes. So if we're not here, don't worry.
Boy, doesn't it?
We'll definitely be back. I'm really excited to get out of this system, to go explore some more systems, to meet some more characters within the Coronis Expanse, and to continue to learn a little bit more about each one of you. So thanks everybody out there that's watching. This is Crits and Die. We will see you next week. Be safe, be well, stay warm, and thanks for watching. Take care.